What's up, Lions Nation? Today we're not just talking about another game, we're talking about a moment that feels like destiny calling. The Detroit Lions walk into Ohio carrying the weight of expectation, the fire of momentum, and the respect of the entire league. Think about it. Vegas has us as heavy favorites. The analysts are moving us up the power rankings, and every stat screams that this team is built to dominate. But here's the best part. It's not hype, it's proof. Just last week, this offense put points on the board against the #1 defense in the NFL. Now the stage is set for a matchup where the run game could explode, the passing attack could flow, and the Lions' grit could shine even brighter. Even with injuries, this roster bends but never breaks, because Dan Campbell and his crew have built something deeper than just talent. They've built belief. So, buckle up, because this is the kind of game that could define the season. And if you believe in this team the way I do me a favor. Smash that like button, drop a comment below telling me your score prediction, and let's roar together as one community. The Lions aren't just playing for wins. They're playing to prove they belong among the NFL's elite. Let's get into it. What if I told you that the Detroit Lions are walking into Ohio as a double-digit favorite, and everything about this matchup screams dominance? The line sits at 10.5 in favor of Detroit, with the total over-under at 49.5. That's not just confidence from Vegas, it's a statement about how far this team has come. Think about it. Just last week, the Lions faced the #1 defense in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, and still put 27 points on the board. Now they're set to square off against a Bengals defense that looks more like Swiss cheese than steel, especially after getting worn down by the Denver Broncos on a short week. The setup couldn't be more tempting. If you're a fan of the ground game, this is the kind of matchup that makes you lean forward. David Montgomery is the name that comes to mind here because everything points to him having one of those breakout performances where the offensive line just opens the field and the Bengals simply can't plug the gaps. Their run defense got shredded, their secondary looked overmatched, and the Lions' playbook is primed to take full advantage. It feels like one of those games where the rushing yards pile up in bunches and the passing attack flows almost effortlessly behind it.
Now, it's not all sunshine. Injuries still matter. DJ Reed is out with a hamstring issue, and there's uncertainty around Terrion Arnold. Depth in the secondary has been tested, but here's the Dan Campbell and this coaching staff aren't panicking. Instead, they're leaning on guys like Omik Robertson to hold the fort, and even considering creative adjustments like shifting Brian Branch into the slot. Rocky is another piece who could slide in at safety if needed. This isn't about pretending the Lions are invincible, it's about recognizing that despite the setbacks, they've built a roster that can bend without breaking. And here's where things get even more interesting. Dan Campbell delivered some very encouraging news on Alim, the Dream McNeil. The 21-day window to bring him back is about to open, possibly this week. While it's unlikely, he suits up against the Bengals. The timing sets up perfectly for a return under the bright lights of Monday Night Football against the Buccaneers. That's a stage where impact players make statements, and McNeil's presence could shift the defensive balance heading into a critical stretch before the bye week. Add in Joshua Pascal and Malcolm Rodriguez nearing their own returns. And suddenly, the narrative isn't just about getting stronger as the season unfolds. Power rankings are also reflecting this rise. The Athletic has the Lions climbing to 3rd, up from 5th. USA Today bumped them from 6th to 5th. CBS Sports, Sporting News, Sports Illustrated, The Ringer, and ESPN all show Detroit holding strong at 3. That's elite company, with only the Bills and Eagles consistently sitting alongside them. And let's be honest, seeing the Lions in those conversations isn't just refreshing, it's validation. We're talking about a team that has put up 30 points on nearly everyone not named the Cleveland Browns. And even then, 27 against the NFL's best defense speaks volumes. This offense is real. It's versatile. And it's consistent. But here's where the bigger picture unfolds. The trade deadline looms. And cornerback help might be just a phone call away. Reports say Seattle's Tariq Woolen could be available. At 6'4" and 210 pounds, the young corner has the kind of size that changes matchups. His playing time has dipped with Devin Witherspoon taking over. And in a contract year, he's a realistic target. The buzz is that a 6th-round pick could be enough to get him, considering the Lions have 2 6s and 2 7s in next year's draft. That's a bargain that makes too much sense. Imagine a secondary with Woolen, Reed, Arnold or Robertson, and rocky. Suddenly, what looks like a concern today transforms into a strength. This is what makes the moment so electric. You've got a Lions team favored by double digits on the road, getting healthier as key players prepare to return, sitting comfortably in the top 5 of every major power ranking, and potentially making a savvy trade that deepens their playoff push. All the ingredients are here. The question is, do the Lions seize it and turn potential into proof? Tell me what you think. Lions Nation, should Detroit pull the trigger on a trade for Woolen or ride with the roster as it is? Drop your thoughts below, because this conversation is just getting started. Can't plug the gaps. This is where the Lions' offensive identity shines physical, relentless, and perfectly capable of dictating tempo. If the Bengals are forced to sell out to stop the run, that opens the passing lanes. And we all know what happens when this offense gets balanced. Suddenly, defenses are guessing, and the scoreboard lights up. That's the beauty of this Lions team. They can beat you with the run, carve you up through the air, or simply wear you down over 4 quarters until there's nothing left. The contrast from last week's challenge against the Browns makes this matchup even more fascinating. On one hand, you had a defense that forced Detroit to fight for every inch. On the other, you've got a Bengals unit that ranks near the bottom in several categories and just gave up big plays all over the field. If you're trying to measure progress, here it is in black and white. The Lions already proved they can score against the best. Now it's about showing they can dominate the teams they're supposed to dominate. That's what separates a good season from a special one. Still, the story isn't just about the immediate matchup. It's about what's building behind the scenes. Dan Campbell's comments about Aleem McNeil carry the weight because they signal reinforcements are coming. The defensive line, already tough, could be getting a boost right when the season starts to tighten. Joshua Pascal and Malcolm Rodriguez add even more depth as they work back when you consider that DJ Reed's hamstring should heal in time for the playoff push. It's clear this roster might be hitting peak health at exactly the right moment. That's not luck, that's timing. And championship teams always seem to find it. Power rankings reinforce that narrative. Seeing Detroit consistently slotted in the top 3 isn't about hype, it's recognition. The Athletic, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, The Ringer, and others have all put the Lions shoulder to shoulder with teams like Buffalo and Philadelphia. And here's what makes that exciting. The Eagles don't look invincible. They're undefeated, sure, but they've shown cracks. Buffalo looks like a juggernaut, but even they've stumbled. The Lions aren't just climbing the ranks there, threatening to take control of the conversation. That's a very different feeling for a fan base that's spent years being overlooked. Now, let's circle back to the trade buzz. Tariq Woolen, a 6'4" corner with size, speed, and the kind of physical presence you don't teach. He's not coming off a Pro Bowl season, but his upside is still enormous. And if the reported price is nothing more than that's a move you make every day of the week. Depth matters in December and January. And if Detroit truly wants to chase a Lombardi, investing in the secondary is a no-brainer. Imagine lining up in the playoffs with Woolen and Reed outside, Arnold and Robertson providing support, and Branch moving inside to disrupt. That's not just insurance, that's a blueprint for survival against the league's best passing attacks. What makes this all so gripping is the bigger picture. We're watching the Lions not only stack wins, but position themselves as legitimate contenders. They've shown they can adapt, overcome injuries, and keep finding ways to score. They've shown resilience against elite defenses and efficiency against weaker ones. And with reinforcements on the horizon and trade possibilities heating up, this story is far from finished, so here's where I leave it to you. Lions Nation, what's your call? Do you see this team making the aggressive move for Woolen, or do you trust the roster to stay the course and power through? Drop your take in the comments, because this season feels like it's building toward something unforgettable. And every fan voice deserves to be part of the conversation. Sashin Can't plug the gaps. That's when Montgomery thrives, when lanes are clear, when the line is setting the tone, and when the defense is already on its heels. And once the run gets cooking, the play action opens up, turning every down into a guessing game for Cincinnati. That's exactly the kind of situation where this Detroit offense has been lethal all season. But what makes this game more than just another regular season matchup is what it represents. It's the opportunity to showcase that the Lions aren't just a team that can rise to the occasion against tough opponents like the Browns, but also one that can handle business decisively against opponents they're expected to beat. Championship caliber teams don't just survive, they dominate when the odds are stacked in their favor. That's what's at stake here. If Detroit takes the field and imposes its will, it sends a message across the league. This isn't a fluke, it's a standard. Meanwhile, the defense is poised to benefit not only from scheme, but from fresh legs soon. The anticipation of Aleem McNeil's return has fans buzzing, and for good reason. He brings a presence in the middle that changes how opponents run their plays. Add to that the potential returns of Joshua Pascal and Malcolm Rodriguez, and suddenly the rotation starts looking deep enough to wear down offensive lines week after week. That's not just about plugging holes, it's about building a defense that can actually take over games. And while the Lions' health is improving, the Bengals are heading in the opposite direction. They're banged up, they're coming off a short turnaround, and they've struggled to find rhythm, even when fully staffed. That's not to say they should be dismissed this as the NFL, where underdogs bite back, but when you line up the facts, Detroit holds the advantage in nearly every meaningful category. Momentum, health, coaching, depth, it all tilts toward the Honolulu Blue. When you zoom out, it's hard not to get excited about what's building. Now,